Hello, everybody, and welcome to Connected Knowledge from Upland Software on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright. Today, we delve into the world of generative AI and its far-reaching impact on our work. Sure, we're seeing all sorts of cutting-edge tools like Copilot and Azure OpenAI services and Google's Vertex AI and Duet. But how are these technologies reshaping the way we work and interact? Join us as we explore the next steps in the AI revolution and the cultural shifts necessary to adapt to this uncertain new world. Skailar Hage is a product marketing manager here at Upland, and he's with me to talk about the future of work and the role of generative AI in shaping our 9-to-5 and beyond. Skailar, welcome. First timer. Good to have you.
Awesome to be here, Pete. Super excited to dive into this topic.
Are you watching the Olympics at all? I'm dating us right now, so.
I'm a huge surfer, and I love the basketball as well.
Yeah.
So I spent most of this weekend, watching both the men's and women's surfing, and then also watching the men's team beat Serbia yesterday too. So that was cool.
That's super fun. And what you will notice as an avid Olympics viewer this year is Microsoft is all in. And
everywhere.
They just want me to watch them. That's the tagline. Watch me. They want me to watch. Copilot is everywhere. So I wonder, as we kick off this conversation, how, addressing this idea of how AI is impacting the world of work and the culture at work, that we're seeing such a huge spend to get people to think real hard about it at home on such a big stage as the Olympics. That's probably a knife that cuts both ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, AI is special in this, every, 10, 15 years, there seems to be some new technological revolution that everyone says is going to, change everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internet 2.0 was big with social media, which it did. And now we're kind of entering into the 3.0 space. And, one of the great things about AI is that no matter, you're a large enterprise or, you're just somebody who runs, a mom and pop business, running Excel sheets, doing QuickBooks, whatever it is, Copilots and all these different technologies are going to affect you in one way or the other. So I think it's, wild to see the big, broad, target market that Microsoft is going after, whether it's, ads in the Olympics, ads on LinkedIn that they're trying to target for, C-level executives at these large enterprises. It's wild. All of it's crazy.
Well, and everybody's so beautiful, handsome that are using these tools. I mean, the best looking people that you've ever seen at work, they are asking you to watch them collate presentations. And it's very exciting and that there's room to be optimistic. So let's talk about what you're seeing in terms of how, I think what are we on? 2 years really since ChatGPT? Yeah. So where do we stand right now if we're charting the long arc of history or the short arc of history for these AI tools?
Yeah, that's a great thing to talk about. I think right now we're kind of peaking in my estimation. So, they talk about hype cycles, right? There's this massive curve that goes, straight up. It's almost a straight line up into, enthusiasm, awareness of the technology, starts to level out, and then it kind of just drops instantly. But then, over time, it kind of equals out, right? And I think we're kind of descending towards, where the midline would be eventually. I think a lot of organizations over the past 2 years have gotten caught up into the hype. And, maybe a lot of enterprises didn't really think through exactly how they're going to, enable AI. And they threw a bunch of money at it. And now they're like, where's the, return on investment for the billions of dollars we've just put into these projects? So I think we're going to kind of get towards the eventual mean here in the next, 2 to 3 years. But there's been a lot of money that's been dumped into these AI projects. A lot of organizations are seeing successes from it, but at the same time, something like, Copilot, right? How can you really measure, how can you get a number from that, right? Like a return on investment number. It's just improving productivity. So it's something very, very hard to gauge. There's no metric that you can really, set to help, fuel that, more investment into this. So although it is helping productivity, it's very hard to measure from the executive level, is what I'm seeing.
I would challenge to see what you think about how you measure it on the employee level, right? Like in some respects, are we seeing adoption to the extent that we aspire to in the Microsoft Copilot ads? Like, are we seeing people change the way they work individually to the point that we can start measuring anything?
I think that's a great point to bring up as well. And every organization's different because, a lot of organizations are very innovative, right? They have this innovative culture, move fast, break things, adopt the best technology possible. And then we also have, laggards, right? Like we call them the hype cycle, that maybe they have money to throw at this type of technology, but, the culture doesn't allow them to truly utilize it in a way to the way it's meant to be used. And I think those are the organizations that are really going to get caught behind because, if you put a bunch of money, resources into, buying the technology, having people, learn about it, and then also, having the training from Microsoft or whoever, consultants, whoever it might be, and you're not seeing that success, almost instantly, that's a very, very big, scary risk that these organizations are taking.
I remember, maybe because I'm a little older than you, I remember a time when computers shipped without a spell check. And then spell check was a third-party add-on that you'd have to buy. Mm-hmm. and we interviewed somebody on this show last year whose forecast was there will be a time when AI is like spell check, that everything ships with AI somehow as a part of it. And you won't know when you're using it or not. It will just be running in the background. How close do you think we are to that point?
In my guesstimation, I would say about maybe 5 to 10 years. I still really do think it is new, and a lot of organizations are definitely scared of it. Everybody, you go on LinkedIn or, you see these ads that you're talking about on, the Olympics. Everyone's, very gung-ho about AI. Oh yeah, we're AI enabled. We use AI for X, Y, Z. But at least what we're seeing is that, organizations are still very hesitant because of one, security. It's a very, very, large risk, especially in highly sensitive industries like, finance, healthcare, legal, those types of industries where things are very safeguarded. And it's going to be a tough, I'd say, mountain to climb. But then once we're there, it'll absolutely explode. I think that's really when it comes, when those laggards and those sensitive industries in the next, 3 to 5, maybe even 10 years start to really catch on. I think that's when everything will just be, like you said, shipped with AI. We won't even talk about it. It'll just be a part of things, right? I kind of liken it to what Apple released with their partnership with OpenAI. So the next iPhone is going to have just AI embedded into it.
Sure,
it'll
Apple
be just
Intelligence.
Like right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is a great branding, by the way.
AI,
Apple Intelligence. Yeah. I loved that, by the way. The
Let's
marketer
just say it better work.
Yeah. But that's what makes Apple great with things is that they kind of sit back and watch, and then they perfect whatever they're doing. Right. That's always seems to be their story, but that's a whole nother piece of things. But
yeah, we'll have you back and you and I can nerd out on Apple stuff.
For sure.
I want to say, because you're talking about security as one of the major concerns, and I wonder what you're hearing in organizations about ethics and ethical considerations around using AI. And I'm talking specifically about training data, about displacement of jobs and retraining. Like, what are you hearing about those concerns? Are those bubbling up at the organizational level, at the C-suite level, or is AI just being shipped with our big apps and it's just integrated?
No, absolutely. I mean, security is huge, right? I mean, that's the first thing somebody, especially an executive, thinks about is how does this, what's the security aspects of this? And, one thing that we've really tried to enable is not only the security, but the accessibility of information as well. Because when things are, as technical as they are with, implementing generative AI, the accessibility factor still needs to be there as well. So, those users still need to access whatever knowledge that they need to do their jobs, right? And when it's kind of a fine-tuned balance when, you have to be extremely secure in the information you're safeguarding, but also have it accessible to those who need it to further productivity. Does that make sense right there?
Sure.
Just walk the tiptoe.
Yeah, I hear that. And I feel like that's one of those things, like every time I read something about AI, it's look at the incredible promise if you figure out how to use this stuff right. And on the other side is, the creative unions. It's the people who fear their jobs will be displaced by these things, by, copyright being a legal platform to actually sue these companies for, training data. And I think there's a sweet spot in here, which is in organizations training their own AI models, right, on their own data. And big institutions have a real opportunity to both leverage I'll say it, magic of the technology at the end user level and maintain the sort of integrity of product.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. And I think this also brings into the evolution of where we're going with this AI in terms of, instead of these large, massive, LLMs, large language models that we have that take these vast amounts of data, we're really going to start becoming specialized in turning into SLMs, which are these small language models. So like for your example, maybe this is a massive enterprise we're talking about with a ton of different, types of data. Instead of deploying, one massive large language model for, every single type of worker they have, whether it's IT, marketing, product, et cetera, they can have, specialized models for not only their function, but, whatever tasks that they're trying to accomplish as well. So
sure, like call center support gets their
exactly,
own, right?
Right. And I think that's where things are really going to transform because it's not as generalized. I'm sure you've played around with, ChatGPT, Claude,
for sure,
whatever model it is. A lot of the times it's not very good of an output, but when you give it that highly specific data, right, where it's personalized and, personalized and accessible to you, then that's when things really start to change, right? Because then you have all of the data that you need. It knows, what you want to hear, how you speak, how you type even, right? That's where things really start to make an impact.
I'm an AI optimist.
And me too.
Right? I think we'll figure it out. But I don't think any conversation on AI right now is complete unless we at least say the quiet parts out loud. And
for sure,
it's hard. So let's talk about next steps. And I'm really interested to hear what comes as organizations do normalize into using AI. What are the sorts of things we can expect on the horizon 2 years out, 5 years out? What do you see?
Great question, because I've been thinking about this a lot the past month or so. I personally think that the next evolution of this is going to be sharing the information that we get from these models. Whether your colleagues, your superiors, whoever it might be. I think it's going to be extremely valuable to have multiple models of these running. So say you have 3 different models that are running, right? You have some sort of input, and the 3 models give you 3 different outputs, right? You see which one of those are the best, or something can kind of, aggregate that information and give you the best output possible. And then you can share that information. I think when the knowledge that is created from these models can be shareable and dispersed throughout your team, I think that's when things become very, very valuable. Because not only does it increase, the collaborative effort, but it's also going to over time increase or better the output of these models as well. I think that's where I see the evolution headed from a, technical and workplace perspective.
How will increasing sophistication of generative AI, of these models, and sophistication of small language models too, right? How do you think it changes the way we perceive and interact with our technology at work for productivity purposes?
Well, the more sophisticated these models get, right, in theory, the better the output should be. So in theory, again, our productivity should go up, right? But at the same time, talking about the dark side, how we were earlier a bit, the more technical and complex things get, the more need for maintenance, the more scrutiny of security there is, the more training data is needed for these said models. So as we become more sophisticated, things either need to become a lot cheaper, very quickly, or things need to become a lot better, very quickly as well, which I think, to our point, in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll probably get to a point where, things like GPUs and the cost of running a model will be, probably next to zero in the grand scheme of things. So it won't be that expensive to deploy, highly specialized models that take a bunch of energy. But
yeah, right now, AI is moving natural gas markets. So we kind of need it to come down.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people don't really think about too, is the energy perspective of all these things too, right? I mean, it's the electricity, alone is just, unbelievable. And that's a whole nother, cost that, most organizations maybe, they're thinking about, but not maybe to the point of they need to,
Yeah, right. Let's talk a little bit about what you're working on and what you're excited about at Upland. What's going on, and when can I play with it?
Absolutely. So at Upland, we're doing a lot of great things with AI. Almost every single one of our products in our KCM BU has taken a super, super innovative approach with AI. We've been one of the first organizations to kind of set up this AI board, as we like to call it, where we have designated people from all over the organization, whether it's product, marketing, IT, we kind of all oversee what we're doing with AI in our products. Gives us a very, diverse set of eyes to look at things and improve things over time. I'm personally excited about, the product I work on, BA Insight. We're doing a lot of cool things with AI enablement. Speaking of security, before too, that's a huge part of this. And that's one thing we're very focused on moving forward is, keeping security measures not only intact, but improving them as we improve data to feed into these AI models. But we got a lot of cool things going on at Upland, not just with, my products, but, across all of the business units.
It's very cool and very cool to see these things evolve and actually become features of substance. So many of the AI tools where, as you were talking about, as the market just kind of exploded, they're really just plugging in, ChatGPT and OpenAI stuff. It's just a window. Yeah,
it's just a ChatGPT wrapper.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever.
Right. And so the idea of having this, being able to see these more significant applications as now we're 2 years down the road, start to come out and really see what we can do. Like there is some real power in what we can do, and BA Insight is the perfect place to do it. So excited to hear about that. On a personal level, what's your personal AI stack look like? What are the tools you're using and love?
Kind of going back to what I was doing before, this is kind of where I got the whole knowledge sharing aspect. I jump from model to basically figure out what the best output is. And then I kind of, whatever I'm asking it, I'll take, the 3 outcomes I get and then kind of make my own spin of it. Obviously I'm the type of nerd that I'll just literally talk to AI for like 20 minutes about something where, I just want to, hey, say it this way, use it this way, use XYZ input and give me, blah, 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 change it to the way I write, that type of thing. But my, I guess, tech stack is just, the basics like everyone else is using. I guess the only thing on top that I like is for content, there's, Jasper, things like that are really well functioning, help you get in the right mind frame of writing content. Claude's a great model, OpenAI's get great models. And I also just saw that Meta's releasing an open source model of Llama too. So that should be really exciting to see, where that goes as well. But I think everybody should at least have, the basic LLM, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, whatever it is, somebody should definitely be, very well versed in how to use it. Cause it's unbelievable what it's done to productivity just for, even the basic package. You don't even have to pay for, the enterprise package or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think the biggest secret for me in AI tools is called Poe, and it's a service and app from Quora, and it includes all of the models. So it's awesome. Like a chat bot that you just open a new chat with the model you want to talk to today. And it's got all of the new ones. It's got all the Claude 3 bots through Opus. It's got all the ChatGPT bots. It's got DALL-E. It's got Llama. It's got Google's bots. It's got the whole suite. And you can create your own bot. And I find like you get to know the personality of these bots as you use them and realize that, for creative writing and brainstorming, Claude is really better. But for checking my regex, yeah, it's going to be OpenAI. It's going to be ChatGPT.
That's funny you say that, because I think Claude is the best for copy, and I like GPT for data analysis. That seems to be the thing that I stick to with both.
The other one that I'm playing with right now, just since we're talking about personal stack, is Perplexity AI. Where do you stand on Perplexity? Have you tried it?
So I'm not super familiar with it, but I do know of the name. That is something I should, look into. But give me the skinny on it.
I love that I just threw down the AI trump card to the AI guy. This is delightful, delightful for me. No, Perplexity it's a little bit controversial. So let's get the controversy out of the way. It was one of the first bots that was looking at all of the websites across the internet and ignoring robots.txt. So it was scraping data without permission and without compensation. And
okay.
I started using it and testing it before that news came out, as I'd say probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. But it has a really interesting model, which is to give you ask complicated questions, and it gives you essentially a brief on your answer with retraceable links that are as thorough as any model that I've ever seen. Like, it is as close to the answer engine aspiration that I've seen yet. And so for asking complex multi-step questions and getting essentially an outline of responses with all the click-through URLs to take you back to the source sites to verify, it's a pretty special tool. To your point specifically, though, and why I'm bringing it up, it actually has a tool within it where you can say, create a web page with this collected result. So your whole conversation is similar to ChatGPT, but you can create a really beautiful, well-designed, essentially research page to share with others. And, like you said, the more we get toward sharing our work, the better.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was writing a blog recently about, all the different Copilots and AI tools that are available. And Perplexity is one that has been popped up, but it just hasn't been on my list of, the countless AI tools to dive into.
There are just a few. Put it on the list. It's fun to play with, and interesting model.
For sure. And going back to what we were saying too, so I think, speaking of talking back to like the ethical part of AI, right? It's super interesting because we get to this point where, I'm an AI optimist, like you said. I want AI to be used to improve human, right? Everyone always uses the human in the loop phrase. It's super big right now. And I want it to improve my productivity. I don't want it to displace or replace anything. In my personal life, I'm super creative. I love, all things creative. I won't dive super deep into it, but I love using DALL-E, for example, for image generation, right? I love, make an alligator, swimming in the ocean, or, whatever it might be, right? Some different prompt. And what I'm finding is a lot of the first step that we're going to is replacing people like creatives with AI, because it's like, I can just, have an image generated of exactly what I need. I don't need to, have any type of artistic ability anymore. So I hope that, the optimist in me says that we can focus technologies on improving productivity and enhancing our abilities instead of just total replacement. But, that's a whole other conversation we could again dive into, is the ramifications of everything.
As an AI optimist myself, I think you're right on. And what I have to keep telling myself is I am not a designer and a graphic artist, because I don't have the taste to know whether the goofy image I just created is good or not. It really is just a goofy image. That's why we hire designers. They know better. Exactly.
My father's a graphic designer, so it's like I get torn between it, but at the same time, I could also take that same methodology that I spoke about before. We can enhance everybody, right? But I just think a lot of the times people gun for, the arts and the humanities of things, when in reality, we need to enhance those abilities. And those skills are going to become very valuable as AI explodes, because a lot of technical skills are going to be, displaced or replaced by AI, right? Things like coding, for example, it can spit out code in, 5 seconds that, maybe a dev team couldn't do in, 6 hours. So I think it's all going to be about, using that artistic and human ability to really help tune the models and then also enhance what we do overall.
Skailar, it's been great. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me about this stuff. I feel like we have more to talk about, so I hope this isn't the last time.
Yeah, as long as you're happy to have me back, I'd love to come back and chat it up.
Absolutely. This was great. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? Should we send them to your LinkedIn? Do we want to, any resources you want to connect folks to?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Always happy to grow my network. I'm super active on there, whether it's, writing blogs, resharing some of our content here at Upland, all the cool AI stuff that we're doing across, all of our business units. Probably you can go to my page and see all the stuff we're doing. So yeah, I would just point everybody to my LinkedIn page.
Excellent. Well, we'll put links to your LinkedIn. We'll links to BA Insight. Some of the tools that we mentioned personally, I'll put links in there too. They're fun to check out. Enjoy them. And thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to the show. We appreciate your time and your attention. We'd love to hear what you think. Swipe up in your show notes and look for the feedback link to send questions to us or any of our past guests, and I'll do my best to get them answered on a future show. On behalf of Skailar Hage, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you right back here next time on Connected Knowledge.